Chance Johnson says Gary's police chief gave him an ultimatum days after he was sworn in. Cut your braids in 24 hours or be terminated. He says he thought the department would allow him to keep his hair because of his religion, but he was fired the next day. Tonight he is calling for change and his job back. These cornrow braids that Chance Johnson has been growing for more than 4 years are the subject of what he calls an unjust move by the Gary Police Department. Johnson says he was fired last month because he wouldn't cut his hair.
It represents strength. It allows me to represent myself and my faith and myself as a person.
Johnson says he practices the Rastafarian religion. He says hair is seen as a symbol of strength, identity, and pride.
They don't care nothing about that. What up, y'all? My name is Fitz. Welcome to the channel. Make sure you hit the like button, subscribe. We gonna keep rocking. I don't think he's gonna get justice, but let's see.
And cutting it would go against his religious beliefs.
When black people were brought over to America, one of the first things that was done was their hair was cut off to strip them from their identity. It represents my faith and what I stand for.
Johnson, his wife, and 4 kids moved from Dallas to Gary for the officer position. He says he passed every test and was offered the job.
I wanted to be that police officer that if I seen something wrong going on, I can step in and do the right thing.
A Gary City Council member posted this photo on Facebook showing Johnson and the new recruits during their swearing-in ceremony.
It's very weird because I think Gary is a majority black city, but also, you know, he went through training with these. He graduated from the police academy. He's in this picture right now. And the whole time he had braids and nobody mentioned anything. So this sounds like it got to somebody that maybe wasn't even involved in like the training process, that has a personal preference. That's what this comes down to, a personal preference.
That day, Johnson says the commander told him the chief had a problem with his hair.
I said, okay, sir, I had no idea that this could be a problem, but I do have a religious accommodation form that I wanted to submit to you. And he didn't say anything else. He just said, okay, I'll talk to you after the ceremony.
Johnson says he contacted HR right away to seek a religious accommodation to keep his hair. About a week later, Johnson says the police chief scheduled a meeting with him, stating he had 24 hours to cut his braids or he'd be terminated, citing safety reasons.
If it's about safety, why is it that the females get to keep their hair? And then that's when he told me that he didn't have to answer my questions, and now this is getting to be more of an argument, and he wasn't having it.
And this is one of the things that I think you have to realize when you are going against the status quo, is that people don't care about your religious views. They don't care about what's right and wrong. They have their own personal preference, and that personal preference doesn't even have to be based on anything logical. Like he said, if it's really about safety reasons, why do you allow female officers to have their hair? It's not about safety reasons. Let's be real. It's because he's a black man. They see him with braids and they think that he looks like the criminals that they're going to chase. That's what it is. They don't think that he fits the image with those braids. He could be the same person, do the same job, have the same skills, but with those braids, he's viewed as a criminal or he's viewed as less than because of the braids. And so this really comes down to a personal preference. And I know this is a bigger discussion within America about what professionalism looks like. And I gotta be honest. I'm not gonna lie and say that there is not an advantage you have to be a more conforming to, I guess, the ideas of what it means to be professional within America, which is really standards set by white people. However, you know, I've always been of the mindset, because I had braids at one point, I had locks, and I've always been of the mindset that whatever opportunities that I miss out on because of my hair, I'm just going to have to miss out on those. And I think that, you know, as black people, you know, black men, black women especially, I hear them say they don't want to wear their natural hair because they'll miss out on opportunities. I think that's fair. At the same time, though, I think that you have to really, you have to put in perspective, what do you value more, your money or your culture? What do you value more? Who you say you are and your identity, or this job? And I think that some people are going to have to suffer. Some people are going to have to be the guinea pigs for this struggle, just like every other thing that was gained. No one's just going to hand over rights. No one's just going to hand over their preferences in place of yours. Notice, the police chief really thinks you look like a criminal. But he has to say it's for safety reasons. He has to say it's for safety reasons. Why? Because he can't come out and say the truth, so he has to make up some BS. And once the BS is challenged, now all of a sudden you're being argumentative. So black people, understand that if you want to rock your natural hair, you're likely going to miss out on opportunities, not because you're dumber, not because you can't do the job, but because there's a preference for how you should look. But let's continue.
Johnson says he was fired the next day. He believes his civil rights were violated, citing Title VII of the Civil Rights Act of 1964. Title VII prohibits private, state, and local government employers with 15 or more employees from discriminating on the basis of race, sex, national origin, and religion.
He said in the state of Indiana, they don't have to accommodate religious requests. I never heard of anything like that.
I reached out to the city of Gary and the Gary Police Department. A spokesperson for the city of Gary responded by saying, quote, "The city of Gary can confirm this is a personnel matter that we are reviewing. We are committed to fair treatment of all employees and compliance with applicable employment laws." Johnson says he wants Gary PD to be held accountable and he wants his job back, but not if it means cutting his hair.
It's nice and neat and professional looking. I don't think anybody should be terminated for their religious beliefs, especially when it's not doing any harm to anybody around them.
Johnson says he has not heard from the Gary Police Department since he was fired last month.
And even if they settle, the police department, they're not going to change their policy. They're not going to move forward in a more equitable way. Why? Because they believe that there's something inherently wrong with having hairstyles that, you know, are more natural to black people. Because they go out on these streets, and I believe that Gary, Indiana is a majority black place. So you would think that it would be more accepting of black hairstyles. And I'm very curious as to what the race of the chief is, because it sounds like the chief is the one with the problem. I don't know how this dude was able to go through training with the braids. I don't know how he was able to graduate with the braids. I don't know how he was able to get the job with the braids. But then once you get the job, you got to cut the braids. I mean, that's like them knowing that you have a criminal record and being like, we know you have a criminal record and this criminal record will stop you from working here, but we're going to let you go through the academy. We're going to let you be on the streets training. We're going to let you graduate. And then once you graduate, we're going to say, hey, you know you can't work here with that criminal record. Then why did you allow me to go through this training and stuff like that? See, this is one of the things that I think makes black people believe that there's still systemic racism, because when you have to pull out BS like safety issues and say it's a safety issue, then that shows us the preference. That shows us the bias. And when those biases go unnoticed or those biases go unchallenged, and we have to sit here and then have a deeper discussion about why that is, that leaves room for racism to creep back in. And these are some of the things that I think black people are most upset about. Now, someone could say, just cut your hair. It's not that big of a deal. It's not that big of a deal. But then what happens is people keep cutting their hair, people keep conforming, and then nothing ever changes. And black people are growing up, the younger generation, believing that their natural hair is somehow less professional. Their natural hair is somehow more criminal, and things such as that. So I get it. On one hand, you got to go along to get along. And if you want to go along to get along, I'm not going to judge you. If you want to rock your natural hair and stand up for your rights and you feel like you have a point, I'm not going to judge you. But what I will say is understand there are consequences to your action. Black hair has always been seen as a sign of rebellion. And these companies feel like you're rebellious when you wear your natural hair. Even if you're qualified for the job, even if you check off every other box, they still want you to conform. And so let me know what y'all think in the comment section. Should he just cut his hair off and get the job? Or should he see this through, fight, and try to make change? Let me know what y'all think in the comment section. Make sure you tap in. Also, if you're a content creator looking to grow your brand online, tap into my Content Confidence Workbook. Information is in the description as well as pinned at the top of the chat. Appreciate y'all, and I'll see y'all in the next video.